going on, guys? As you can see, doesn't happen often in Southern California, but we got rained out today. Like, pretty gloomy up there. We had some lightning and thunder. All the parks are wet, all the skate spots are wet. Yeah, so I met up with Enzo. We didn't have this plan, kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm gonna set up a new board, test out a new shape. Enzo is showing me, so I think I'll like it. And yeah, so today's video we're gonna be doing a couple questions that we've gotten, kind of like a Q&A of how I started with skateboarding and what I think about skateboarding and where I see skateboarding in the future. And we also going to showcase a new product I have behind me. We have a cruiser that ties in with the new series of boards that we have. So we have the Flaming Tiger cruiser. So I'm going to show that, cruise around a little, show you how I have fun in the rain when it skates in Southern California. And also we're going to be kind of looking around the city that we're in, and I think I might have a spot where we could potentially get a couple little flat ground clips, have some fun, and so we'll see that at the end of the video. But for now, I'm going to set this board up and tackle one of the questions we got, and it was, how did I get into skateboarding? So how I got into skateboarding, it's a long story. It started in 1997 in Huntington Beach, and little backstory on that, I was at my grandma's house. My parents were on vacation, so me and my older brother went to stay with my grandma for the weekend or the week or whatever it was. I think it might have been in the summertime. But so we started going to, I think it was a Blockbuster, and this is how old I am. We were gonna rent a Super Nintendo game or something like that. So a lot of you out there might not know about Super Nintendo, or you do, and like, oh, that's an old console. So I was a little kid, so that was the new cool stuff at that time. So Grandma's taking me to Blockbuster, me and my older brother. So we're getting out of the car, and I looked across the street, and I see some kids on skateboards, and I didn't think much of it as a little kid. Like, I thought, oh, skateboarding, it's a toy, whatever. Like, but the thing that started all of my obsession with it, that would continue on until 2021, would be, I saw a kid do a kickflip on the sidewalk, and I'd never seen that before. I'd never been exposed to it, never seen it on TV or anything like that, or if I did, I missed it, but I saw it in person, and it honestly looked like magic to me. It looked like when Harry Potter figures out he's a wizard. Like, I was like, wait, you could do that? That's a thing? And I stopped right there. I remember my grandma's yelling at me to get in there. They're walking in, but I just, from that moment on, I was just playing on repeat in my mind. The kid did a kickflip on a skateboard. I saw it. It turned. I'm telling my brother, like, that whole day, I probably told him, I'm like, this guy, he jumped in the air and the board spun around and then he caught it and went down. And for me, I'm thinking like I just saw some sort of paranormal activity, but my brother's like, yeah, there's a skateboard trick. He didn't know what it was called, but as I started talking to him, then he started showing me more stuff, like later on after that. Like I think weeks later, he had got a skateboard magazine from one of his friends. So he's like, oh yeah, see, these are the tricks they do on the skateboards. And I looked through that magazine front to back probably, I don't know, a million times, and I was just like, I need to get a skateboard. And even I think my brother had caught the bug of skateboarding as I was telling him, because he started to become a little bit more interested. We started reading the names of like the skaters that were in the magazines, and so we had that down. We kind of got, all right, this is skateboarding. The next step was, how do we get one of these boards? And in the magazine, it was showing skate shops. So my brother's like, oh, you have to go to a skate shop. Thank God he did that, and we didn't go to like a KB Toys or a Walmart and get a board that might not have performed well or even like rolled too well, where it would have pushed me away from skateboarding. Like, oh, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was. So I remember me and my brother begged our parents, like, we want skateboards, we want skateboards. And my dad understood it because my dad grew up surfing out here in Southern California. So he was on board. He's like, okay, cool. So I remember he took us to a shop. I can't remember the shop name. I remember it was in Hermosa Beach, like, so pretty far away from here. And we went in, and I still remember the board I got. I still remember the board my brother got. So we go in, and it was like a skate snowboard shop, really cool, loud music, just seemed like a bunch of people in there. You see snowboards lit up, or lined up. You see all the skateboards behind a counter, and I'm just like in heaven. And I have no idea how to buy a board. My dad knew, because he had grown up skating too in the 80s, like early 80s, but he didn't really stay with it, so he's kind of stuck in like the 80s side of skateboarding. So I remember my brother got like a traditional board. It was a Rick Howard girl board. I still remember the graphic. It had a Vancouver Grizzlies character grabbing a basketball and had like a skateboard behind him. Really cool graphic. And so I didn't pick a traditional board. I picked like an 80s shape, because purely basically just because it had like this little it had a beetle on it. And so I'll send Enzo a picture of it. He can put it on the screen. So it had a beetle, but it was an 80s shape. Only had one tail on it, and it kind of tapered off towards the nose, almost like a shape of a coffin. So I just saw the graphic, I wanted it, and it was a huge board. It was like, man, this is like mid to late 90s, so a lot of like the street skaters, they were riding 7.5s, and this board must have been like an 8.2, 8.3, could have been an 8.5. So my dad was like, you sure you want this? You don't want one like your brother? And the guy at the shop was like, yeah, it'd probably be easier to learn on another one. I'm like, no, I want that one. So got that set up, picked out the trucks, picked out the wheels. I forget the trucks, they probably were independents. That was like one of the major companies, still around to this day. And I picked out Bones wheels, just on the fact that on the graphic there was like little skeleton bones on it. So I'm like, oh, skeleton bones and this beetle, this is cool. I get that board, my brother sets up his board, we get home, and then the next part was, how do I ride this thing? No idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm standing on it, losing my balance, looking goofy, but I was 7 at the time. So for the first probably month or so, I just rode it on my knees. I put it under my knee and would kick with this one and just ride it like this, and it worked. It was cool until that birthday that year. I guess all my friends knew I loved skateboarding because I wouldn't shut up about it. So I got a VHS tape, and it was a 411 video magazine tape. So this was its own magazine, but compressed into a VHS video of like an hour. So they would go over like trick tips, they would go over industry stuff, like these are the brands that are coming up, and kind of history on the brands that were around. And then it would show pro skaters. Then watching them, I would just watch and emulate them. I'd go into my garage, I'd go on the sidewalk, go onto the driveway, trying to ollie. Finally got the ollie down, and I was ecstatic. Like, I was like, I lifted the board by myself. It was probably only about yay high, and who knows if the back wheels even really got up, but for me it was like, I'm doing it. I'm a skateboarder now. And from that moment on, I was like, I got to learn as much as I can. So I watched that 411 video magazine. It was issue 23. I still remember the issue, and they went up into like over 100, I believe. And so I would watch it over and over, and go outside, keep doing it. And then one time my brother's friend came over, and he was a little older than even my brother, so there's a 3-year age gap between us, and he could kickflip. I watched him do it right in front of me. It was just like the time I saw it across from the Blockbuster. And he eventually showed me. He's like, this is how I do it. And so what he did was he got a Sharpie, and he outlined where to put my foot on the grip tape. Like, he drew a line. And so I was like, okay. He said, ollie, then kick down right here. And so it probably took me like another month till I got one of those, and I was ecstatic too. I was like, man, I did a kickflip. Fast forward till I really got into skateboarding with like my buddies, like maybe junior high, or that junior high going into high school, where we could actually do tricks. I learned how to kickflip the totally wrong way. My buddy called me out when we were making a video. He's like, why do you kick down on your kickflips? I'm like, what do you mean? So I watched the clip of me doing a kickflip in some video, and I'm like, oh, I am doing it wrong. Then I start watching DVDs were out at this time, so skate DVDs, and everybody's kicking out and having their foot flick. I'm like, oh man, I've been doing the kickflip wrong since 98, 99 now. I gotta catch up. So I got obsessed again and then started doing kickflips again, relearning them. And that's what's cool about skateboarding. It's like, yeah, I was doing a kickflip, but I wasn't doing it how I wanted, or at least a way that my friends weren't gonna call me out. So there's so many different ways to do these tricks, like I say in the trick tips, and there's no perfect way. I could have kicked down for the rest of my life, and if no one told me, and still would have had a blast. It didn't take away the factor that I learned how to do something on my own, kind of on my own, a little bit of guidance from people, but it was just amazing how that worked out, like that I got obsessed with it. Still to this day, the kickflip's one of my favorite tricks. Every day on my Instagram story, I've been doing a kickflip this whole year, because I never stuck with a New Year's resolution. So from January 1st to January 1st, this upcoming January 1st, I'll be done with 365 kickflips. I think today I'm at around 280, 281. So that's how many days we are in the year. So it's funny, it's something that I've done a million times. I'm still doing a bunch. Like I'll film, I have a little tripod, I put my phone on there, and some days I'll do it first try and I'll be like, oh, that was a clean one. Other days I'll do a kickflip, like, I didn't like it, and I'll do about 10 a day, landing them and I'll pick out one, oh, this is a good one. So I had to get a tripod. My girlfriend, she was going crazy holding the phone, and she's like, oh, you landed it. No, I didn't land it, because that voice inside my head was like, did I kick down or did I kick out? Did I even pop it up high enough? Like, so yeah, that's just kind of a weird quirk I got into skateboarding. When I learn a trick, I will watch it back and make sure it's how I want it to look, or the best I can make it look in my abilities. So I'm very judgmental. I know a lot of skateboarders are judgmental on their own tricks, and even some are on other people's tricks, and that's somebody you don't want to be. Who cares what anybody's doing, how it's done? Be happy they're skateboarding, because if no one's joining up with us to skateboard, this industry is going to go away, and you're going to be paying a lot, like super high price for a skateboard and products. So the more people get in this, the better. Like don't keep it as some secret society, because it's not. I didn't start skateboarding. I didn't start the industry. You didn't either. It was way before us, so it's like, it's not ours. It's not anybody's to begin with, everyone's. So that's the story how I got into skateboarding, and I'm still doing it to this day, and I love every second I am able to do it. I don't get to do it as often as I did when I was younger, just because kind of life comes at you. You work, balancing life, just everything, relationships, all that. But if you're a kid right now, take as much time as you need to learn these tricks and just have fun, because it goes by in a flash of an eye. I still remember that story I told at the Blockbuster like it was yesterday, and blinked, now we're here. But it's been a crazy journey, and yeah, I just can't say how much I'm appreciative and how much I thank skateboarding and the people that are involved in it to make it happen. So it's awesome. So that's question one. We'll get into question two after I set this board up. Alright, so I got the board set up, but before we get out of here and check out a spot that I think we may be able to skate, it's kind of a roll of the dice that we might be able to skate or just cruise around, have fun, is we got another question, and it was, what do I think about the current state of skateboarding? And it was a question I had to kind of like think about for a little bit, because like I said before, skateboarding, since I got into it, I've always seen the wave of it. It's been cool, it's not, it's cool, it's not. Right now it's super accepted. When I was younger, that we didn't have the ability to have all these skate parks. There were skate parks in California, don't get me wrong, but they were far and few between. Like, you'd have to travel to them. There was a lot of kind of restrictions on them. A lot of them had like employees at the skate park making sure people wore helmets and stuff. And so now they're a lot more loose, kind of skate at your own risk, and each city has about at least one. Some cities have 3 skate parks. I know just right down the road, Eastville, there's 3 skate parks in the matter of, what, 5 miles, Enzo? Pretty close. Like, and here, we got this one, and then we have the big one maybe 2 miles down the road. So it's really cool to see like the park scene expand. And when I was younger, we would skate a lot of the streets and go to spots and film and pretend we were going to be pro skaters. That's what we all thought we were going to be. Turns out didn't really go into that, but we had a blast doing it, and I wouldn't change anything for it. But we would go to these spots or schools and skate, and we'd always get kicked out. Sometimes the cops would come. But what was cool about my group of friends, we were always super respectful. We didn't destroy anything. Sure, we were like grinding on a ledge, but the ledge, like, that could be replaced. We weren't stealing, we weren't graffiti or vandalizing, stuff like that. And whenever we were asked, like, by a security guard, cop, we always left. We did get questioned a couple times. Once we got a little older in high school, we'd bring like a generator and floodlights and light up the spot so we could skate at nighttime, which that brought the cops a little more. We have a big gasoline generator making all this noise at a school at like 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, that will bring some things. But if you're cool with like the cops and cool with the authorities, like, we didn't really ever get in trouble. The only time I did get in trouble with skateboarding, I got a ticket for not wearing a helmet at a skate park, and that was the biggest thing. So, but other than that, just be cool with everybody and nothing bad's gonna happen. But as for the state of skateboarding, what I think right now in 2021, a lot of people think like, I remember a lot of people were kind of negative thinking about skateboarding in the Olympics, like, oh, it's not a spectator sport, all this. And I kind of thought that at first. I'm like, oh, it's kind of weird. But after watching it and really thinking about it as an adult, I might had a different thought, like mindset, if I were a kid now. But it's probably one of the greatest things. Like, you know, you have these skateboarders that are athletes representing their country, and, you know, it's so rare to do, to be that high at your art form, to be able to be in the Olympics. It's very prestigious. But not only that, it's televised worldwide. So if anything, it helps skateboarding. You have all of these countries competing, and maybe some countries that aren't even up to speed or where we're at in skateboarding, now they'll look at it differently, and they can see like their kids getting into skateboarding and be like, oh, it's a waste of time. But now, since the Olympics, they could be like, oh, you know, there's something to this. This is a respectable, I'm not going to call it a sport. I kind of call it more of an art form and just a craft that you harness. Like, it's definitely good for skateboarding, and it's good for the industry. More people that get on a board, the better for everyone, because then, you know, it even trickles down all the way to where we're at, skate parks. If no one's skateboarding, these parks can be, you know, over time they get weathered from the weather and things start breaking. So if there's nobody skating, the city's gonna be like, why are we funding this? Like, there's nobody even utilizing these facilities. Like, so they might get rid of them, or you know, not take care of them, or not develop more, and kind of keep adding on to like all the cool stuff that's going on throughout North America. Because I know not just California is like this with skateboarding, all over the US. I know there's been skate park foundations that have been charities that have been building skate parks the last 10 years, and it was cool. I actually helped a charity build a skate park in Yorba Linda. We'll have to take a tour of that park. It's not too far from here. It's called the Logan Well Skate Park. A skateboarder had passed away, and we did a fundraiser with the skate shop I was working at a restaurant, and all I think it was half the proceeds of like the food and beverages went to that park, so we helped contribute. So going there, it's always pretty cool to be like, hey, you know, I didn't fund it 100% myself. There's a lot of people involved, but, you know, I helped, and it felt good to give back to a community. And maybe, who knows, some kid might pick up a skateboard and skate over there at that park, and could be the next, you know, U.S. Olympic rider. But in the most part, I think it's in a good place. The only kind of negatives about it are just those people that are kind of gatekeeping, like even people my age that are set in that old kind of mindset, like, oh, this is ours, like this isn't yours. And like, no, don't have that mindset. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get skateboarding anywhere. So with everything that we have with skateboarding, whether it be, you know, these televised contests or social media is the biggest, you can reach so many people through skateboarding. and that's something we didn't have in like the late 90s, early 2000s, those times. So it's crazy to see where it's become, and I think the ceiling has just gotten larger up to where it's going to be and what it could be. So for now, I love where skateboarding's at. It's more accepted. It's like you don't have to feel like some loser punk kid like, oh, I'm a skateboarder, like when you tell, like, you know, my parents' generation. Now I think they're even starting to get on it, even with since the Olympics for sure, because you know they've grown up seeing all these athletes like, oh, skateboarding's in it now. Yeah, this is a credible thing to you know have, and I think my parents, they've never really thought about it like in a negative, because they understood. They saw all my friends I had. They saw I was staying out of trouble. It was probably the best thing for me. So all in all, I think skateboarding is in a great spot. An even better spot for skateboarding would be, let's go ride a skateboard. Enzo, let's go to the spot. What do we got here? This is the Flaming Tiger cruiser board. So Flaming Tiger. Always cool to have a cruiser on deck. So.
What it feel like? How I be in this real life?
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. We have new videos coming out every week. And if you have any requests for any other future videos, you know where to find us.